Did it put on a show, or was it just kind of lame?
I honestly think the rooster tail might have been 30 feet in the air on that second one.
No! No! No!
That was actually pretty good. That was pretty good.
So the Hardcore Diesel Enthusiast of the Year award goes, it's a tie between Will and Josh. Because we drove 10.5 hours to an event, no shower, slept on the trailer till we got cold.
Yeah, I mean, Will was definitely more of a man than I was. So I drove the whole way there, and
we got there, what, 1:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 1:30 in the morning. We get there, we pull in. One of
our buddies, Matt, had parked his truck in our spot.
Parked his truck, so I go to grab the keys where he had left them, and out pops another person with a
was it Randall?
Randall, and we thought it was just
Diesel.
Yeah, we thought it was just a flashlight. And it turned out that it was a squirt gun and a flashlight.
He was cocked and locked, ready to go. And so we about died.
Yeah.
And so we moved the truck that they thought we were stealing. And
I think we just parked.
We just parked, and I laid down on the trailer, and I opened up my suitcase and laid a pair of pants down. And then you gave me a roll of blue towels for my head. And we knew there was no hotels. So if we were smart, we would have brought like a bedroll and a sleeping bag. But being, I brought clothes, but it didn't really bring anything to sleep.
Yeah, and I slept on the back of the trailer, and I gave up long before Will did. I was in the truck probably within an hour, and then I went to bed, and the truck was empty. I woke up, and Will's in the passenger seat, and I was like, all right, now I don't feel so wimpy. So we wake up. I already had my large single set on the truck.
Wait, we got to back up the story a little bit. So we went to Hamilton, Montana for the U.S. Diesel Parts Dyno, dirt drag,
sled pull
event. So a 3-tiered event, and we went there planning to dominate, right? That's
Correct.
Why we went.
Yes.
And we were going to get paid because there was trophies and cash prizes.
I was really in it for the trophies, I'm not going to lie. Like, the cash was nice, but the trophies are what sparked the drive.
And I haven't earned any trophies in 2021, and Josh was giving me a hard time. He's like, how about you bring the junker? And he's like, I'll let you win the large compounds class. I won't put compounds on my 07.
Yeah. So we show up, I had 3 setups that I had to swap, and then Will was gonna do the dirt drag, so he has some stuff. So I get there, I'm the first person on the dyno.
So it's not even really an audience. Like, you don't even care about the audience, you just wanna get the trophy.
Yeah, didn't even care, pulled up, I'm the first one on the rollers. We did 12:51.
And a half.
And a half, and then I thought maybe if I turned up the fuel I could get more, which again, I don't know why I do this all the time. I did it twice that day. And I did another run, it was like 1,041.
1,091. Losing heat. Okay.
I was like, well, I think that'll be a hard number to get around. I back it down and I go back to the little pit area we had, and I have to swap the Steed Speed T6 for a T3, put in a downpipe, and I get my HE351 67 set up, and then
which would be your competition for the small single class.
Yep.
So every class has a trophy and a cash prize. So Josh has already locked in large single. So then I was up second on the dyno because there was dirt drags later, and I wanted to get my dyno out of the way so that I could put on the scoops.
Yeah. So then I start doing that. I get ice on the truck, and then I run over because you're going on the dyno, and it seemed like it went pretty well for you. I mean,
Yeah, I think it went right through. The only problem I had is somewhere in that 10.5-hour drive, my dash cluster quit working. So I didn't know if it was charging. I didn't know the temp. I didn't know the RPM or anything. All I know is when I hit the key, it started. And so I wasn't running the radiator or the trans fans because I didn't want the battery to get so low that it would drop the shutdown solenoid and kill the run. And then right before I started my dyno run, I clicked the fans on because, you know, I didn't want to blow up the engine. And did a pull. And what I hit? I mean,
it was 1502.
All right, so we're here with Will in line on the dyno. What's he gonna do?
well, we're doing the big twins class, or big compounds as we call it. Last time we did 1466 in St. George with a healthy correction factor. So if we're anywhere in the mid to upper 13s, I'd be happy. But I'd really like to see 14. That'd be the goal. 1400 or higher.
There you go, boss. A little bit forward. We're getting the wheel strapped down. Got him on the roller nice, and we'll see what it makes. Oh, 1502. Dang. 1502.
Dude, that's a new record. I mean, that's a hard number to beat fuel only on this. We'll see.
I think that might be a definitely second place, if not first place.
And so you guys will see the video. I was the camera guy. I wasn't that far away from it. It was pretty violent. I swore I saw like more daylight under the oil pan when he did that dyno pull. That was pretty good. And to be fair, you beat every other truck in that class was a Common Rail. And you.
So the poverty pump came out on top for once.
Yeah.
Now, guys, this is a 12mm P pump. Now, the turbo setup's pretty good. It's got a 472 SXE compounded with a custom GT55. That's a 116mm turbo.
It's a big compressor.
Makes like 150 pounds of boost at full song, and it gets it. It makes good power. We calculated the torque. It was right about 2,400 foot-pounds. That's on a wet factory. That's the original block that came in the truck, and it's 20 over. Those you know, and some of us just like to live on the edge, and you know what? The block is still there. I was worried it was gonna do UCC repeat and split the block, but it hung in there so well that after I got off the dyno, I decided to put on the scoop tires to go do the sand drags.
Yeah, so while you were working on that, I got the 67 on. I went back up on the dyno. It was like 840 something horsepower on the first pull, and it was like stupid clean. So I clicked it up one tune, and we did 903 or 904.
858. For Josh with the small single.
I really wanted that 1,000 horse. I think we'll get there eventually. We just got to dial it in.
So your truck did 1251. It did 1,000 with that. This is on an OEM wet 6.7 block. Usually everybody says 1,000 horse is the limit. So you did 1201, then you did a little over 1,000, then you did 840, and then you did 907?
904.
904, something like that. So he did 900. Then he goes back for round 3.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you had split your coolant hose, right?
Yes.
During qualifying or whatever. So we got to get him patched up on the coolant hose. He gets the scoops put on. And while they're at their driver's meeting, all I had to do for the third competition was pull the turbo off, put a different turbo on. So I went up there with a OEM cast HE351 compressor wheel.
So that's a 60 millimeter turbo.
Yep. And I put down 668, which, come to find out, Myers actually done more. He did 673. I didn't know that. So he did 673.
So we thought it was a shop record, but not quite.
Yeah. So Myers still has beat me on that, but we did 668. I did one pull, I learned, and I pulled it off. And then I went running over to go watch Will do it. And we're not complaining, but it was pretty hot that day. Like, I know a lot of like the Texas people think the West Coaster guys like complain, but like we're fine. But it was hot and it was dusty. I think that was what the worst was.
So for the dirt drags, normally when I go to dirt drags or mud bog, the gas guys complain and whine and say it's not fair, you got diesel or whatever. Well, this time it was the diesel guys complain and they go, it's not fair, he's got scoops. And we were bracket racing in the dirt drags. It wasn't even like heads up, first one across the finish line on the wins, it was a bracket. They were worried I was going to destroy the starting line with the scoops. And so they made me run with the gas class that there was guys with some scoop tires. And these are sand drag or sand paddles. I call them scoops, but they're, you know, sand tires, unlimited tires. So my first run, I'm the very last guy because I left my fans on and ran the battery dead. So Josh came over the jump box. So I'm the very last one to go in qualifying. So my first run, I leave at like 10 pounds of boost and I leave the lockup off and I have the AFC Live in like half power mode. Because, I mean, this thing had just done 1502. I mean, and here we are going to go on the dirt. I'm like, this isn't going to work. Yeah. So I banged through the gears, kind of a slow run. It wasn't really awesome or anything. And I come back around and they're like, hey, are you good to hot lap it and do your second run? And I was like, this is the junker. Absolutely, I can hot lap it. And so I came right back around in the starting line and it takes me like 4 jockeys turning to get in there because the tires are so big, they hit the turbo housing and they rub on the fenders. So it's like, you know, it looks like a dummy trying to drive a truck.
I thought you were pulling past the beams and they kept backing you up. I had no idea.
And I was doing that a little bit to kind of pack the starting line too because I saw some other guys doing it and I wanted to try it. But there was more method to the madness. But the excuse was the truck wouldn't turn. So I got it all in there. And then the second time I'm like, I'm going to do this. So I put it in full power mode. So we're on the 1500 horsepower tune. I turn the lockup switch on. So as soon as I get in seconds and lock up, and I launch this thing at 20 pounds of boost. Now, even at the drag strip, I can't launch at 20. It'll blow the slicks off. And I'm just like, well, all the drag race guys I see on the sand, they leave as hard as they can. The more dirt you throw backwards, the faster you go is what I thought. So I proceeded to let off. And I mean, you were on the outside. What did it look like on the outside?
The first pass was good. Like, it was definitely down on power at the end, but I feel like the start was really good. The second pass, there were these hay bales that were supposed to block all the sand and dirt and rocks.
Those big 1-ton cubes.
Yeah. So those I'd say are about 12, 16 feet tall. And all of a sudden you grab second gear lockup and the dust just hits those hay bales, goes up. I would imagine that rooster tail is every bit of 30, 40 feet in the air. It was insane. The crowd actually, like everybody in the crowd thought it was really cool. You could barely breathe after you were done though because there was so much dust in the air. But it looked like it was a lot of fun.
And then I got down in the track and started hooking. It actually started putting me back in the seat better than I would have thought down track. In fact, I had to lift because it started getting out of control. Rolled through the end and I was like, wow, that was pretty fun, you know. And I come around and he's like, hey, we got to cut you off. And I'm like, what? And he's just, dude, there was so much rocks and gravel. He's like, there are broken windshields out in the parking lot. Somebody could have got hit with a rock. He said, it's just too much. He said, you can do a couple exhibition runs at the end. And he said, we got to bring heavy equipment in. The starting line's destroyed. And I was like, I'm good. I got this video for you guys, for YouTube, and I'll go put on the trailer. I don't need to split the block doing dirt drags in a bracket with a 2-wheel drive truck.
It was good. I mean, you moved out though, and they ended up moving the starting line forward. Did you see that? That's all they did.
That's how they fixed the ruts.
Yeah, they just moved it forward because there was probably a good 8 feet of trenches. I wouldn't have been surprised if your diff didn't drag.
The diff was pretty much dragging the ground on that launch. So, so anyways, note to self: leaving at 20 pounds of boost does not work. I mean, it worked. It moved, but it definitely dug a lot of dirt.
You needed the soft launch of the first run with the power of the second run, I feel like.
Down track. But anyway, so it was a good event. We walked away, so then we didn't give people the recap. So you got first place in big single by over 200 horsepower, right? What was the next guy?
No, big single I won by 500 horsepower. Small single was 200. Stock Dodge was 200 as well.
And then I did 1502. Next place was Cody.
1150,
and he did 1150.
Yeah.
So I had first place covered by what, 350 horsepower?
350, yeah.
So that was, I mean, that was a pretty good event. And there's a bunch of other people right there, about 1,000 horsepower stacked in behind on the class I was in. And then the unlimited guy did 17, Skyler did 1750 on nitrous. And if I had nitrous, I probably could have had a shot at taking that one too. But I don't know if the block would, I mean, 17's a lot on factory block.
Yeah, and he ended up coming in first place there, and then I don't know about the Duramax or the other one. I don't even know if Small Compounds did, but it was a pretty good event. After we finished watching Will's thing, we got the Interco STSs bolted onto my truck to go work stock sled pulling. Basically, we had to take the license plate off, slide the hitch in.
Josh, what are we doing?
So we finished up our 3 dyno classes. We did 1241 large single, 902 small single, 668 stock Dodge. Now we still have the stock Dodge turbo on here. We got our ballast loaded, sled pull tires on. Let's go try this work stock heavy pulling.
Work stock heavy pulling.
Yeah.
Now for the guys that don't sled pull, show us in the back what you got going here.
So we got big hitch products. Basically it moves the hitch up and into the truck, so it gives you better leverage, completely legal. We got an adjustable sled pull hitch, bump stops.
Is that what these bars are here for you guys that don't know?
The sled, if you come unloaded, this stops the sled from hitting your truck. I only run them when I have a roll pan. And then we have our Interco STS Truxis.
Now, why'd you pick those tires for guys that don't know sled pulling?
So these tires, in my opinion, are one of the best sled pull tires out there. If you got the horsepower to turn them, which because we're not running duals in the back, 660 horsepower should turn these no problem. We could probably even double them up and be okay. And the track, they imported clay, so these should be the winners here.
And then nothing really extra in the truck. You don't want stuff up front with you when you're racing.
I don't want it bouncing around. I don't feel like dying today.
Now out front, no weight boxes. You can't hang weight, correct?
No hanging weight. And basically, we're gonna take it with the 60 or 8,500 pound class. See what it weighs. We'll be a little light, but that's fine. We make up for it in the horsepower department.
Now we just want a little impression before we put the junker right here. Come here, tell it, because you got to see from the outside. So, I mean, did it put on a show or was it just kind of lame?
I honestly think the rooster tail might have been 30 feet in the air on that second one. It, like, you guys will see in the footage, like, it is just this cloud. I went down to the end of the track for a second run, and it was just insane watching that arch of dust. So good, in fact, you got kicked out. But, hey.
That's right, guys. They said, unfortunately, I can't run in the eliminations. Now, it's just a bracket class. It's low money. Really, I just wanted to see what the junker would do with 1,500 horsepower and scoops. And what we figured out is it dug trenches. And then when it did finally start hooking at the end, I chickened out and lifted because it started getting sketchy really quick.
The other gas guys with paddles legitimately were like, that was a great pass. So, yeah. All right, let's get this stuff loaded. You can see we got these.
If it fits, right? We'll just put the stuff that was in my truck in the bed of yours.
In the back, and that'll keep the weight.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got some sand tire Unlimited. We got them screwed so I could air them down pretty good. They got tubes. These are just on some Bart Super Trucker, 15-inch tall by 14 wide. And yes, the junker is still street legal.
It doesn't get driven that much on the street because it's pretty radical, but it never disappoints. Let's give you a little peek under the hood here. There you can see, yes, and I know Gale Banks will be mad, but it has the stock Dodge air horn on there. So we might be giving up 50 horsepower right there, folks. So maybe that's the next upgrade we'll try. But single battery, we got a 472 SXE compounded with a custom Garrett GT55. It's a big 116 millimeter unit, little hood stack action. We got some electric radiator fans. This is a power driven 6.1 liter stroker 12 valve Mishimoto Intercooler. And I have to say, very, very impressed with the Mishimoto Intercooler. 150 pounds of boost is what we saw in the dyno today, and it took like a champ. It did not blow up. So these Mishimoto Intercoolers are legit. I don't want to say we added any power with it, but the fact that it didn't blow up versus all the other brands, every other brand has blown up that we've tested. So, and I'm not going to call out companies, but I mean every other brand of intercooler we have tried has ballooned at this boost level. Nothing will hang in there, so except this one so far. There it is. Time to put her away. We got booted out of the event, unfortunately. And look, the scoops are still pretty good. I mean, we've got a few little chunks here, but really, they're actually a pretty good tire. I don't know if we'll be doing any more drags unless it's on a smooth sandy track, because the bumps, it was pretty rough and hard to handle. But anyway, we're all in one piece. Everything's safe. There's some broken windshields in the parking lot from the rocks, but hey, it's like going to a baseball game. If your windshield gets broken at a diesel event, it's just like a baseball game, right? Like it's not my fault. What do you guys think? Comment below. Is it my fault that there's broken windshields in the parking lot?
I mean, you passed tech. Like, for everybody that's like, oh, no tech, you passed tech, so.
They teched this. Yeah. They checked my brakes, they checked my steering, and they looked under the hood to make sure the battery was latched down. And I had these bolted on. They knew what they're getting in for. So
miraculously, a second-gen steering past tech. That's the most.
But any of you guys that did get a broken windshield or whatever, I'm sorry. You know, but at the same time, you know,
take money to make
it's kind of like catching a fly ball. You know, sometimes it goes wrong.
Air up the bags, put the tires on, and we already had our work stock cast compressor wheel in there. Went through tech, which conveniently, since we parked right next to Lenny, ended up being at Lenny's tent, so I don't even think I had to drive there. I had a choice between work stock light and work stock heavy. I chose light, but after looking at it, they didn't reset the sled. I think I could have done well in either class.
Yeah.
My first pull, I left really saucy, like 12 pounds of boost, which is a lot for a sled pull. And I went down the track, it was like 272 feet, and when I let off the throttle, the HE351 got hurt. There was like white smoke, blue smoke coming out, and I was like, all right, we just lost the compressor wheel, but it was still making some...
But you have to do 2 pulls. They told you right before you went, they said they're doing 2, and you have to add the 2 distances together. So you have to make a second run, and you've now hurt the turbo, even though as the class went on, we figured out you put like 40 feet on everybody in the class, the first hook. And so then how did we fix, I mean, what was the strategy there?
I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, so I could probably run this one more time. It'll probably snap the shaft, but I think we could do something with it.
Go ahead, Josh, tell us this great discourse.
So everyone hates on PDD, which I understand, everybody's got their reasons. But you spend one day with us, and you realize we're either really dumb or really dedicated, but either way,
you gotta respect the game.
We're never gonna quit.
We're never gonna quit, and you gotta respect the hustle.
Yeah.
That Charger is turbo-blown, but it has new bearings now by swapping a cartridge on it really quick. And Josh was smarter than me. I was going to tear it apart and get bearings, and he's like, no, swap the center CHRA, but really just pull the turbine wheel and compressor out of here, and bam.
You know, the next time you're like wondering what I should get paid,
that was a smart move right there.
I mean, that's the big picture guy, you know? That's the guy you want.
I assume your nitrous bottle's out of here, because there are nitrous jets that are going to protest and say you cheated.
Yeah, I can check me until.
Is your bottle out of here?
Yeah. It was never in. It's been in the back of the truck.
No, it's good. I was just making sure, just for the sake of the drains all hooked up and everything.
Yeah,
Dude.
so I'm gonna do a double check. Sorry, I forgot.
It's all right. Eric can edit out your one slip of the S word.
I mean, for how today's gone, I feel like I've really kept my composure.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I need to swear once today. It was great. They're like bringing the tools over.
Hey, we're done.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I gotta tighten the clamp, but.
Right on.
And then I was like, oh shoot, we got all these HE351s that I had brought with me, because I didn't know what the rules were. So I brought a 67-67 billet wheel. I brought a billet wheel 60-67. And then we had this cast compressor wheel. Well, the rules were that it had to be an OEM cast compressor wheel. So I asked Will to go to the trailer and go get the tools and the turbo. And there was a little bit of, I think all of us were pretty kind of losing our minds a little bit with the heat. I came up with the idea, if we just pull the compressor wheel off of that turbo and put it on the billet turbo housing, we just swapped them. And we put that in there. Put the stock cover back on, and we probably, it's a factory 60 mil. What do you think that was? Probably 56 inducer on that?
All that was left.
Yeah,
you lost 4 millimeters
Yeah.
of compressor.
Yeah,
and so then to make it survive, you had an external wastegate. You turn that way down, so it's just gate pressure to try to slow down the turbo, and then you turn the tune down one level too, right?
Yeah, I did. So it made, the other pole did like 35, 38 pounds boost. This one, it went down the track at like 18, 22 in that range. I ended up at 260 something.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see the Dyno horse right now, and we're getting back in the sled pulley! I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was looked over and on that last run, stuff Dyno right now, and we're getting back in the sled
They had watered down the track in between, and the guy that I had put 40 feet on before put 50 feet on me, or it was like 45 feet on me on a second pole.
So he ended up winning.
Yes, he did.
But what we come to find out later is when he read his driver bio, he said he had a KC turbo. It was a Ford. He had a KC Stage 3 billet wheel in his turbo. So he had, or Stage 2, whatever. So he had a cheater turbo on there and even announced it over the announcer thing. We're like, what the heck? We would have put his billet. So I fully believe if Josh would have put that billet wheel, he would probably put 50 feet on everybody again. But, you know, sometimes you play by the rules, you lose. Thankfully, there wasn't any money involved. It was just trophies. So you ended up with a second place trophy.
And work stock.
And you followed the rules in work stock, even though, and the guy that won, whatever. I mean,
to be fair, they didn't, the tech there was very loose. Like, I had never been to a sled pulling event where they didn't make me pull my air filter off at the very least.
To look at the turbo.
To look at the turbo. And honestly, I didn't run the event. It wasn't my rules.
But you weren't going to cheat. You didn't want to win. But after I found out there wasn't money, I was like, dude, we should have ran the big turbo just to see if it would hang in there on the pole.
Yeah,
if anything.
It would have been cool, but I mean, I'm happy with the second place finish, especially just the fact that we were versatile enough and thought quick enough that we got it flip-flopped around and we were able to save the day. And honestly, when I got back here, I put the 67 billet wheel back on that turbo, and now I'm daily driving it again. So we didn't hurt that one going down the track. It was
even
fun.
with that unbalanced compressor, because we gated it down slow enough.
Yeah, it worked great. And we were done at what, 10:30 was the final sled pull awards. We hung out, loaded up, and then the boss man came in clutch. So I did the first 2 hours of the drive, which was through
everybody wanted us to go out to dinner. All these people had hotels to go to. There's no hotels in Hamilton. We looked for 2 days, and even the week up to the event, we couldn't find anything. The closest hotel was almost 4 hours back, like in Idaho Falls, or 1 hour north, which added. And so we ended up, we're like, we got to Ironman this home, with no showers, mind you.
The whole time. I showered Friday morning, you showered Friday midday.
So Josh, being an old military guru, is like, hey, we can use baby wipes to take a shower. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He's just like, you know, a PTA shower, whatever you want to call it. You know, anyway, so you know, put on fresh change of underwear and we hit the road.
Yeah,
and,
underwear, socks, and a shirt, and you're good for another few days.
So we drove back Ironman home, and we got home Sunday morning, and that was it, dude. But we had a lot of trophies. You brought home 4 trophies?
3, because the stock Dodge did not have a trophy.
They didn't have a trophy either? No trophy and no money.
I believe, as Mo put it, I'm not going to congratulate somebody that has a stock turbo, stock fuel, and just has an intake tune exhaust. And I was like, had I known that, I probably would not have done it, but it did feel good to...
I think you get a trophy for that. So
no, I didn't get it. I only got 3 trophies.
So you got 3 trophies and I got 1. So in the trophy count this year, for those guys keeping track, I have 1 and you have 3. So I've got a lot of ground to make up. No. However, as far as who's the big dog made the most horsepower at the event...
I've made more horsepower, though.
Well, if you add it all. But at this event...
You did.
Did the P pump outperform the Common Rail? Just at this one event?
It did.
Now the next event...
88 millimeter single T6 Charger, which I street drove, versus a 116 millimeter truck that sits in the shop all day long. Your choice. Your choice. But we'll see. I don't know.
At the next event, are you gonna make more power than me? You know what you need to do. That thing, we're not changing it.
I'll probably just spray it and make more power.
I mean, that's fair.
I think if I hit it at like 4,500 with 2 136s, I think I could do like 1,1700.
Wait, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, what are they supposed to do? Ring the bell? Is that what these guys say? You got to ring the bell and hit the like for the YouTube algorithm?
I mean, the way I do it, I was just like the video, drop a comment down below, subscribe if you're not already.
So what comment? So people should tell us whose truck do they like better, the yours or mine?
The daily driver, Common Rail, or Will? Honestly,
let's just have a simple vote. Just put Mechanical Mafia in the comments if you like P-Pumps better, or put Wirefire Gang if you like Common Rails better. And let's just see how this ends up. It almost be like a poll on the YouTube comments.
I feel like this is a little slanted in your favor, but hey, whatever.
Well, hey. You're Josh from YouTube. You're way more famous than me.
Okay. But no, it was a good event. I definitely think I'll go back next year. Huge thank you to everyone that was there. The boss man, I mean, picked up the gas tab too. That was awesome. And the nicest part, they waived all our entry fees. Did you pay?
I paid cash.
Oh, okay.
I was dumb enough to pay entry fees. Sorry.
I didn't pay, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you came. And we'll see what Idaho does.
Thanks, guys.